Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Deal. Sitting here Saturday morning. The national championship game is set. Ohio State, Notre Dame. I think what stands out to me first is you look at this Ohio State team specifically on offense. I got to give Will Howard a ton of credit. We all saw when Will Howard transferred in during this offseason, we thought it was a good fit in terms of what Chip Kelly wants to do. He's becoming kind of a difference maker from the pocket as a passer. I mean, there were some really tight window throws that Will Howard has made in the college football playoffs that have kind of elevated this Ohio State offense. Now, you look at Notre Dame, I think what stands out is just how solid this Notre Dame defense is. Not only a bunch of NFL guys, but I mean, this is about as well coached of a football team right now as you see in the country. Ohio State has the firepower. Notre Dame's been executing at a very, very high level. Who wins this football game? That's what we're going to get into. Now, before we get into it, as always, Ohio State fans, Notre Dame fans, college football fans, let it fly in the comment section. A lot of different ways that you can look at this football game. The amount of support y'all have shown the fellas all season long as we've breaking down these games, it's been amazing. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Let it fly in the comment section. Dill, I feel like you got to start with this Ohio State offense versus this Notre Dame defense. The number one thing that I'm looking at, what did Texas do last night that kind of gave Ohio State some problems on offense? They were, hey, we're going to light box you. We're going to leave our two safeties high. We're going to take away the explosive plays, and we're going to go make you execute 12 plays, 80 yards, and score a touchdown. Dill, outside of that Travion Henderson 75-yard touchdown on the screen before the half, which was a massive play in that football game, Ohio State did not have a single passing play that went for over 20 yards. I mean, Texas it was a masterclass in terms of taking away the explosiveness that this Ohio State team has been doing extremely well all playoffs. Now, the question here for me is, can Notre Dame do the same thing? Texas was able to light box Ohio State and take away the run game with their two high safeties because of how good they are in the front seven.
I don't even know that it's taking away the run game per se, because frankly, I don't think Ohio State can get into that battle like they did against Michigan, where they're just trying to grind teams into the ground, because their offensive line isn't exactly that unit when they play really great teams. My thinking is more like you just need to be really fast in the back end. Your linebackers and your safeties need to have great team speed. And again, that's what we were kind of talking about with Texas all week. It was versus an Oregon or a Tennessee, even those linebackers and safeties, they're on a bit of a different level, I feel like. And you saw when Ohio State can get their run game to the perimeter, they get their pass game and the flats going. You see how dangerous of weapons they have. When Travion Henderson and Judkins have room to operate, they're really dangerous. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith, when he has room, super dangerous. I just think Texas had the team speed in the back end to be able to keep their safeties high, rally to the ball, linebackers cover a lot of ground. And that's going to be what you're looking for Notre Dame, who, again, you talk about a team that is just so good in the back end, especially with the safeties. And then you have a guy like Jalen Sneed, who to me is kind of the X factor of just a really good, he's kind of playing that nickel role at this point, but a guy in the middle of the field who tackles really well, can be versatile. That type of player, I feel like is hyper important.
And covers so much ground. And that's probably the key. You're right. It's not only do you have the big bodies to stop the run game with the light box, but you have the linebacker speed as well. And that's probably where it starts. Texas was able to leave their safeties high, not give Ohio State the explosive plays, and they gave Ohio State some problems. Can Notre Dame do that in this football game? Yeah, that's probably where it starts. Now,
really, if you can take away the quick game for Ohio State and take away what they try to do in terms of getting the ball to the perimeter quickly with their wide receivers and running backs, you see, I don't know that this team can really just straight pocket pass their way down the field consistently enough. And it really showed up because that offensive line, I think people kind of were under the illusion from the last two games, the Oregon and Tennessee games, that Ohio State's offensive line's fine. I think you see when they really are getting consistently throwing the ball from the pocket, you saw Texas kind of eat them up. They're getting sacks. They were creating negative plays. That unit, when they're just strictly pocket passing and you're taking away some of the easy stuff for them.
So that's the next question. Without a guy like Riley Mills, does Notre Dame have that defensive line to take over the football game? That's probably what you're asking. Because look, I think Notre Dame's defensive line is dang solid. You obviously are missing one of, if not your best players up there. Can they go impact Will Howard the way that Texas defensive line could? Because again, Oregon and Tennessee just couldn't. It was very clean pockets for Ohio State. They were getting the ball out quick. Can you take away some of that quick stuff to the space? And can you hold up in pass protection? Dill, another storyline for me here is this matchup's going to be electric. Like we all know Notre Dame's going to want to play man coverage here. They've played a ton of man coverage all year, and they've just said, hey, our defensive backs are better than your wide receivers. And look, it's worked, especially in the playoffs, right? Georgia didn't have the wide receivers to challenge Notre Dame. Penn State certainly did not have the wide receivers to challenge Notre Dame on the boundary. Well, guess what? Ohio State does. And so Notre Dame, do they play a little bit more zone, or do they say, hey, we trust our defensive backs against anybody in the country, and we're going to play some man coverage against Ohio State too?
Especially just playing zone has gotten Riley or Will Howard, into some trouble with turnovers. Like you even see in that Texas game, like just not seeing David Benda underneath. That's like it's a bad pick, but like it's an easy one. So I wonder if, because frankly, Notre Dame probably is going to have to turn the ball over because we'll flip to the offensive side at some point. But I don't really see this Notre Dame marching up and down on this Ohio State team.
Yeah.
They're going to need some plays on defense. So I do wonder if you go to a little bit of zone just for the sake of trying to take the ball away and get Riley Leonard or
Will Howard.
I got to stop doing that. Will Howard into a tough spot and turn the ball over.
Yeah. Okay. My one take I'll put before we switch sides here. Will Howard's been playing better than I think you're saying. Like to me.
Oh, it's not a critique of Will Howard. It's a critique of the offensive line's ability to protect if they are just dropping back in a very predictable manner. Because I don't think they can do that against Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest questions. Can Notre Dame's defensive line have the impact that Texas did? I'm not. And you start looking at X factors. One, I got to give a massive shout out to Donovan Jackson. I mean, he's kicking out and playing tackle, and he's been. That was my biggest question. Was like, how does he hold up against some of these elite edge rushers that he's going to see in the playoffs? Thought he'd look great against Tennessee. Thought he looks very good against Oregon. Thought he looked very good last night as well.
He's not the problem, but again, I think you saw him beaten. I think you saw.
Well, what you're trying to do if you're Notre Dame and you're seeing is like, hey, look, the interior offensive line for Ohio State, like they're shuffling the deck. They clearly don't love it. They've been trying to move the pocket a little bit. Can you mug up these linebackers and challenge the A and B gaps? Because that is something that Texas went to at times that gave Ohio State some problems. If you're Notre Dame, you're probably trying to do the same thing. All right. Flipping the sides here. This is probably like we started with this storyline because I think that the Ohio State offense and Notre Dame defense are probably the two really elite units on the football field. The question here is how much can Notre Dame move the football? How many points can they score? Because look, we trust Notre Dame's defense to not just get steamrolled here. Like they're one of the few defenses that I think can deal with Ohio State, similar to Texas. This Ohio State defense has been playing on another level, specifically the defensive line. This is where it comes down for me, like the negative plays. Notre Dame took a lot of negative plays against Penn State on Thursday night. They had, 5 sacks? They gave up 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Well, look at what Ohio State's been doing in the playoffs. Against Tennessee, 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. Against 13 tackles for loss. Against Texas, 4 sacks, 9 TFLs. Can Notre Dame stay out of those third and long spots? Can they consistently be in those manageable situations, the situations Riley Leonard likes to be? Because if they struggle to run the football and they're in these second and third and obvious passing situations, as good as Notre Dame's offensive line has been in the run blocking department, they've struggled at times in pass protection, especially with more injuries popping up on the offensive line. I mean, Taj Baker comes in, did not look great at tackle in that second half against Penn State. Biggest storyline for you, this Ohio State defense, this Notre Dame offense, where are you looking at it?
And you kind of said it. Like this is the mismatch. This is why I think there is a 9.5 point spread, or at least that's last I saw. Yeah, that's probably why the number is what it is. Because I think if you're being honest as a Notre Dame fan, you have some major questions about how you move the ball consistently against this defense because they're really flying around. I mean, Texas has been a good offense, and I didn't even think like Texas played poorly. Like Quinn had certainly some moments in parts of that game where he wasn't playing great, But Ohio State's defensive line was really eating that offensive line up.
And
And
that's
that's
a
a good, healthy Texas offensive line.
yeah.
So for them to just go up there and really dominate that game, dominated against Oregon, the way that defensive line's playing certainly gives you
That's
some major questions.
that separates them from me. Like the way Ohio State's and that's been like the critique even going back to last year early when they lost to Oregon in the regular season. It's like, all right, Jack Sawyer, JTT, Tyler Williams, a lot. I mean, not only their front fours all NFL guys, like they're too deep. Are NFL guys too.
Yeah.
This is an elite defensive line. And at times you said, all right, we just need a bigger impact from these guys. Well, you've gotten that impact in the college football playoffs. Can they show up in this game is probably a big storyline. Dill, another thing that you probably feel comfortable with if you're Ohio State is you look at Notre Dame's passing attack, quick game, yards after the catch. We want to get our guys in space and let them be explosive. Well, we kind of know Notre Dame, at least historically, has not pushed the ball down the field all that
Well, and
often.
that's the thing because Texas got to them a little bit with that type of stuff, but you saw Ohio State had to take away the deeper portion of the field. They were playing more too high safety looks.
Yes.
I just don't see a world they need to really do that against Notre Dame.
And even if that's what they want to do, like one thing you feel great about if you're Ohio State, these defensive backs tackle. I mean, Lathan Ransom, Caleb Downs, especially Caleb, he doesn't miss tackles in space. That's kind of what been Notre Dame's MO in the passing attack. Here's the one: if you're Notre Dame, you're trying to find what's the one matchup we like, right? You probably don't love your wide receivers against the defensive backs. You probably don't love your offensive line against this Ohio State defensive line. It's hard to find a matchup. What's the one thing that worked for Texas? Running back out of the backfield. Well, guess what? Aeneas Williams, he doesn't get the national media attention Price and Jeremiah Love get, but Aeneas Williams is a very dangerous pass catcher out of the backfield. Can you that is probably one thing you're looking at if you're Notre Dame and saying, all right, Ohio State struggled to play running backs out of the backfield. They went to some man coverage and you got running backs free up the sideline. Can you get Aeneas Williams in a couple of those situations and hit some big plays? That's probably the avenue you're looking at saying, hey, maybe we can capitalize here.
Yeah, because you obviously, again, you just don't feel like you have something consistent you can get to against a really great defense. But again, like you have super talented backs. Aeneas Williams is a great receiving back. And then, frankly, there's an element to me like, is Mitchell Evans going to play a really good game like I thought he was playing against Penn State?
Yep.
Is Jaden Greathouse going to kind of step up? And I mean, he played a big time football game, I thought, against Penn State. So that, like, those two guys, like, we've talked like, are there the type of weapons they need on the boundary? Like those two guys played the type of football that I think makes Notre Dame a little bit more dangerous than people maybe think because they haven't gotten that really from Greathouse or
Agreed.
for that.
One last thing I'll say before we get to the pick. It felt like Texas was hurt bad by not having a difference maker running the football. It felt like there were some plays in that football game where it's like you got your running back in some space. It's one-on-one at the second level. Can you make a miss and take a 5-yard play and go hit it for 30 or 40? And the Texas, and we knew that the running back play wasn't elite, right? They've dealt with a lot of injuries. Well, if you can get in that situation against Ohio State, Notre Dame's got one of the best running back rooms in the country. And so can those running backs, when they have an opportunity, and the opportunities are not going to come very often with how good this Ohio State defensive line is, but when they do come, can you change the game? And we all know Jeremiah Love has that kind of ability. Getting into the pick here, Dale. Notre Dame 9.5-point dogs heading into this matchup. Who you got?
I got to take Notre Dame. This is my last stand as a Michigan fan. They're getting there. I thought Texas could do it. I thought Texas was going to be the answer. I'm going to take Notre Dame to cover. I don't have a ton of confidence in them winning just because of that offensive the Notre Dame offense versus the Ohio State defense feels like a major mismatch. So I'll take Notre Dame to cover, but man, it's tough seeing them win just with that defense. Ohio State's defense playing too good.
Yeah. And you got to take Ohio State here. Ohio State, yeah, I am fully aware. Like this Notre Dame defense is special. There's no doubt about that. I'm kind of with you though. I just at some point
that's why I think they can cover the number because I do think that defense can make it like competitive in this game.
Agreed. But look, Dill, Ohio State, they did, like, at some point with all that firepower, like, you're gonna have players make plays. Like,
Yeah.
Ohio State struggled. Jeremiah Smith caught 1 catch for 3 yards. Like, they just got enough guys where I think they're gonna have the football a lot, 'cause I struggle to see Notre Dame staying on the field here. If they have the football enough, like, they're gonna find those plays, and I just don't know if Notre Dame on the offensive side of the football has those counterparts to match Ohio State. I'll take Ohio State. They just look like such a complete team, are playing really good football. I don't even think they played their best game last night and still were able to get
No,
it.
that's what hurt me. It's
Yeah.
what hurt
Give
us.
me give me Ohio State. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.